is my goal is to have self-actualization, to awaken more to my true nature, for spirit to show me what love is, like what real love is in our relationship and my relationship with my son. That's what I would, that's my goal. Like my goal is to understand more and more of what's really real here. And my goal is every single moment to remember what is really true. Like that really psychs me. It makes me excited. It gets me, it's like having a real goal that's really meaningful and that means something to me. Now, in the worldly sense, would that goal bring me money? Would that goal, make me successful? I have no idea, because that's where kind of the question was coming from him. But I said, you can't put a price on that. Like that's what I would love to understand more of. And I feel making that declaration, I've made this declaration before, that this is really what I'm up to and this is what I want. I have noticed that little by little, I am seeing that awakening happen, especially with the way I see my husband. Like I could really see the dynamics of that holy instant. I could see the dynamics of letting go of my victimization. I can really experience it. And it's something out of this world that I can't even put into words. Okay. So if any of you can relate to this, or can relate to your goal being love, your goal being, I want to know what's the truth, or more of my true nature, or more of my true nature in relationships, say it on the chat. Like, this is my goal. My goal is to, I always say, my biggest prayer is, Holy Spirit, show me what real love is. Like real love, like the love of God. Like I'm so open to that love, right? So let's go ahead and talk about the six. I'm going to give you 6 steps on understanding more the holy relationship, and also how to incorporate it more in your life. Or even, if you can have like a little smidgen of something that any of these steps can help you to open your mind to the holy relationship, and to have an understanding that you can have holy relationships, and that even if you don't see the holy relationship at 100%, that your relationships nevertheless will be more peaceful, will be more flowy. You will let go more victimization. So I feel like the ego would get in the way and say, oh, I want to have a holy relationship right now. Like my ego would say, which it doesn't say this, but I'm going to give you an example. I want to have a holy relationship with my husband right now, is what my ego would say. Or I want it now, or I want to experience that, and I don't want to have any more special relationship. It's not the way to go. It's more of, I'm open to experiencing more love, more peace, more joy, more serenity, more true vision, more Christ vision in my relationships. Okay, that would be the goal. And then the holy relationship and your holy relationships will begin to flow in your life, and you don't know how it's going to be done. You're filled with wonder. You give it over to Holy Spirit. So the first step would be self-reflection and awareness. So this is very helpful. At least for me, it's been very helpful. And these are steps that I created with what I've gone through. Self-reflection and awareness in my life has really helped me to be at more peace in my relationships, and to have, and I talked about this earlier, a sense of confidence that I'm perfect in God. It's like this sense of confidence. Like even the whole looks thing has started to go away a little bit, right? Especially being someone that was a model, right? It's like this whole concept of, am I pretty? Am I ugly? Am I fat? That's kind of shifting as well. But I put here, the first step towards attaining the holy relationship is a cultivation of self-reflection awareness. It's like really having that awareness, being more present. We must examine our own motives and fears and attachments with relationships. Honest self-inquiry allows us to identify the patterns and conditions that keep us trapped in special relationships, preventing us from experiencing the true depths of relationships. So self-inquiry, if for those that have read Live Your Happy, at the end I will put a link to my book Live Your Happy. For those that have read Live Your Happy, you know that self-reflection and awareness was all over the book, right? Because for me, I needed to have that self-inquiry. A lot of the processes and practices in my book have a lot of exercises to do, and to really feel your feelings and to really put, like chapter 1 when I talk about big deals, right, is to really have this self inquiry and put all my big deals on the paper, right? Really look at everything that's in my mind, all my projections that are in my mind of guilt, of fear, of scarcity, and then asking Holy Spirit what's really real here. That is self-reflection and awareness, that at its best. That's like a beautiful exercise that you can do. You can find out on chapter 1 and 2 of Live Your Happy, of where you want to begin to have an understanding of, like, kind of like expose your private thoughts, like allow, the world to have it. It's like, this is what I'm fearful of, and get it on paper or do whatever you need to do so that you can be really honest with yourself of what's going on here. Another incredible self discovery was when I did the 7-step fearless process, which is also in my book, of where I sat down and I looked at all my relationships in my life. What did I make them mean? Right. And then having Holy Spirit's take on what's really real here. And I realized through that self discovery, all my abandonment issues, and I was able to recognize that my abandonment issue, came from originally my father committed suicide when I was 3 months old. But I needed to have that journey. I needed to have that self inquiry. I needed to go there. I needed to understand more of myself. Why am I scared? And that takes a lot of courage to be really honest with yourself, to really go there. And those that work with me one on one, those that are in my coaching group, that all this, feel it to heal it, this authenticity that I'm a hot mess, this authenticity that I feel, insecure, this authenticity of I feel blah, 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 blah. It's so healing. It's like we don't need to act like spiritual puppeteers. We don't need to pretend that, we have it together. Actually, the opposite. It's like, let the world have what is really true. I mean, you can't do it with everyone, but it's just, I really needed to go inside and have that self inquiry. I remember having it when I was in Germany, and it was a short time after I had my son. I think it was his first year, and I was going through some hormonal stuff, postpartum stuff. Actually, at sometimes I felt I was losing my mind. I was grabbing onto the Course of Miracles. I was grabbing onto the Way of Mastery for dear life because I was so insecure. Like all my insecurities rose to the surface. And I needed to begin to have this self reflection, this self discovery. And I needed to dive into the Way of Mastery at the time. I needed to dive into the Course and really work with that. And I felt unsafe in my relationship at the time. And I was a mother. I was a mother to a young child. So I remember doing the work. I remember thinking, doing processes in my mind. I remember working on that I'm responsible, working on that Christian's not my problem. And it was hard. It was terrifying. Although that is what helps, is really going there, really doing the work. Even if you don't want to, sometimes it's very uncomfortable. I remember, teaching a Unity of Houston. Actually, Gary's on the call today. He went to Unity of Houston at one point, but I think this was the first time because I went again and I did the self-love workshop. And I remember that I was nowhere in self-love at the time. I remember I was going through a lot of a spiral of abandonment stuff, and I used it in the workshop for the healing. And all the women loved it because they got to be who they were, and they also got to see within themselves, what is that shadow, what is that darkness, and why, when expose it and let's heal it together. You get to heal it. So that's the first step. The first step is self-reflection and awareness, and I hope that makes sense, right? So self-reflection and awareness. And that means being honest with yourself and beginning to do journaling if you need to. And a lot of you that work with me already do journaling, of where you have a journal and you speak to spirit and you work things out. That's very helpful. Step 2 is huge. It's surrender and forgiveness. So that's the second thing that has really helped me to understand what is a holy relationship and incorporate more holiness, more holy vision in my life. As you can say, I'm not saying a holy relationship, because I feel as certain aspects of my relationship with Christian are very holy. And I experience the holy relationship a lot with him. And I think he does with me, just because I'll talk about it later. But I say I experience more holiness, more love in my relationship, and perhaps the holy relationship is in and it comes out. Holy relationship. So sometimes that happens. Okay. Surrender and forgiveness. Once we become aware of our attachments and illusions, The next step is to surrender them to higher wisdom within us. Surrendering requires release our grievances, judgments, and expectations, okay, to release these things. We must be willing to forgive ourselves and others for the limitations we have imposed on our relationships. Forgiveness liberates us from the past, paving the way for healing and transformation. I would say that forgiveness is the key. And if I had a little bell right now, I would say ding, 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 ding. Forgiveness is the top. Forgiveness is non-judgment. And I've said this many times. It took me like 20 years to understand it fully, what forgiveness is based on the course. But forgiveness basically is lifting the veil of illusion and letting go of judgments. And when you understand that what you thought was really real isn't, and whatever is not of love isn't real, right? So it's that forgiveness. So when you start to practice forgiveness, and I do this all the time with my narratives with my husband, every time like I'm thinking he's my problem, I come back to forgiveness. I release the judgment. I'm able to see the truth about myself and my innocence. And then I'm doing the very best I can. And he's doing the very best he can. And then there's that release within the relationship. Now I'm using my relationship with my partner as an example, although this could be any relationship, including your relationship with yourself. I want to make that very clear. The other step 3, and forgiveness, we can go on and on with that topic. I do encourage people that are watching this video to look at past videos that I've done specifically on the topic of forgiveness, because forgiveness is a very core theme in the Course in Miracles, to be able to free your mind even more and to be free more of the illusion. Step 3, cultivating self-love and self-acceptance. Okay. And for me, these are lessons 94 and 97. Okay. 94 and 97 are incredible workbook lessons on this. I find them helpful, at least for me, and they were helpful for me in the past as well. Is 94 is I am as God created me. I'm sure many of you love that lesson. I am as God created me. And then the other lesson is the one I said earlier, which is I am spirit. But all of those in between are really powerful. So we have I am as God created me. I am one self united with my creator. Salvation comes from my one self, and I am spirit. Sometimes you can grab all those lessons and literally write them down as a mantra, record it, or do whatever you need to do. But it's such a beautiful, these lessons really reflect this self-love and acceptance. So, and I am as God created me, lesson 94 in section 2, it says, true light is strength, and strength is sinlessness. If you remain as God created you, you must be strong and light, and the light must be in you. He who ensured your sinlessness must be the guarantee of strength and light as well. You are as God created you. Darkness cannot obscure the glory of God's Son. You stand in the light, strong in the sinlessness in which you were created and in which you will remain throughout eternity. That is the truth about us. That's the truth about you. That's the truth about me. That's the truth about anything and everyone. And the more that we dive into that and have this understanding that we are as God created us, there's more cultivation of self-love and self-acceptance. Because if I know who my father is, my father, mother is, and I let go of this narrative of what I think Maria is, her script, or what I think she should be, or even what I think this person should be like too, when I let go of these judgments and like withdraw this veil of illusion, I'm able to really see. And almost always when I lift this veil of illusion, I'm really able to see the love that is there and the innocence that's there. It's like this person can do no wrong. It's like they're just doing the very best they can. They're lost, and I've been lost, right? It's like true vision. And then I get to experience my innocence within myself when I'm able to actually withdraw the judgment and see it outside. I'm like, oh my goodness, my innocence. There's so many times that I've beat myself up and then I come back and say, oh my gosh, what am I doing? My intention is good. My willingness is there. My dedication is there. My hard work is there. And I could just go and stab myself in the back, right? I call her Maria la Loca, right? I just stab myself in the back because I forget who I am. And then I come back, wait a second, that's not the truth. I'm up to good. I'm up to really being a beacon of light. I want to show up. And you don't have to be a teacher of God, or be a teacher of the course, or anything to walk this. Like, you're me, I'm you. We can do this, right? You can do this in your own way in your life. The foundation for the holy relationship lies in the cultivation of self-love and acceptance. We must recognize our inherent worth and value as divine beings. By embracing our true essence, we no longer seek external validation or completion from others. Instead, we enter relationships from a place of wholeness, sharing our love and authenticities with others. That needs a breath. Anything you guys want to share? It's a good time now in the chat. And thank you for being quiet and allowing all that to flow through. That was very helpful. The reason I want to pause there is because that was me. You know, it was not self-love, not self-acceptance. You know, I would look for external validation. I would look for completion outside of me. You know, and how many of you relate to that? And that's why when I see it, I'm like, wow, it's in my face. It's like, yeah, that's was my narrative. It's like, let me look for that. And I guarantee you all that the more that you practice the course's principles and you're dedicated to it, you will start to see the miracles. You will start to see that, you know, the light begins to turn on in your mind, and you start to see you're less victimized. You start to see that less things really don't matter anymore. You know, I remember as much as you think. So cultivating self-love and acceptance, how do we do that? Well, we do that by really that dedication, which I was talking about earlier, of it comes with the inquiry, because you need to inquire. And then when you start to see how you live or your perceptions of yourself with the Holy Spirit, you're able to undo them. The more that you take responsibility, even if it's hard, or the more that you forgive, the more that you take the right way meaning don't need to be right. That is self-love and self-acceptance of yourself. And it's funny because you would not think that. You know, you would think self-love and self-acceptance is putting on a candle, you know, doing some self-care. The ego would say, you know, take a bath, have a massage, you know, self-love, self-care. No. The best care and self-love, self-care you can give yourself is to take care of your mind, to take care of your belief system, to begin to have the narrative with the Holy Spirit. That's how you develop self-care, self-love, is by having more of the narrative of spirit. And the only way that you can have that is by that acceptance. You need to have that self-acceptance, because then within that self-acceptance of what is you're able to come and have more clarity. Right? It's not like you're not going to do anything in the world, but you're going to have, when you have that self-acceptance of, okay, it is what it is. I self-accept what I've done, what I haven't done, release the judgment, you're able to step in the role with more clarity. Communication and vulnerability is number 4. Effective communication and vulnerability play a crucial role in nurturing the holy relationship. Open, honest, and compassionate communication allows us for a deep understanding and connection. By expressing our true feelings and needs with vulnerability, we invite the other person to do the same, fostering a space of trust and mutual growth. So this took me time, especially in my relationship, just because I want to hide and I don't want to be seen, because, you know, I don't want to get caught that I feel abandoned, or, you know, I look for something outside to complete me, or you need to make me happy. So I sometimes you don't want to expose things, or I didn't want to expose things because I didn't want that person to think I really like them, or I didn't want to think they think I care too much, or I don't want to say it because I'm frightened, I'm scared to be exposed. So we begin to express and have this more holiness and holy relationship in our consciousness when we're just open and honest and compassionate. Of course, Miracle says we're invulnerable, but what this is saying here, what I'm saying here with the vulnerability, is more of like, again, this vulnerability that you experience here with me. It's like just this willingness of wanting to talk about things maybe that you haven't wanted to talk about, or just really going there, of maybe things that you're scared of. And you can't do this with everyone. Or maybe you just need to have effective vulnerability with yourself, or have, you know, express your feelings to yourself. But when we start to expose the ego, and that's what I love, the Course in Miracles coaching group I have, is that we do these practices of where we get to expose our ego to each other. And that's why also my one-on-one sessions, it's like you get to really expose it, you get to really give voice to it. And that honesty is everything, because there's this compassion that's held there, and the ego doesn't hold you hostage because you don't have any more private thoughts. You're like, listen, I feel insecure, or listen, I feel this, or I feel that. And I remember that when I would do that with Christian, it was so hard for me to say, I feel super insecure about this, or I feel insecure about you talking to this person or that person, or I feel, it was like, how do I talk about this? Right. And it's still hard for me sometimes, but I have that commitment, that willingness of sharing, exposing my insecurities, exposing my littleness, exposing my fear. And again, I feel that that helps to reach the holiness. And then we sometimes don't say things because we feel the other person won't take it well, or we don't say it because, we're trying to brush things under the rug, or you just don't trust the whole situation. But how do we know how people are going to act, or why are we littling people, making them small, what we think they can handle or they can't handle? Because we don't know. The only way you're going to know if they can or can't handle the truth, or your vulnerability and your truth, is by sharing it. And they might like it, they might not like it, but although you did your part in opening up that energetic field and opening up that light, and then you give that person permission, and who knows the blessings that will come from that, and who knows that that wouldn't be the best thing ever that you can do, is share your private thought. So that is number 4. These are good, huh? What do you guys think about my six steps that I pulled together this morning? We'll almost wrap it up here, and then we'll do our meditation. Okay. Thank you, Shauna. I'm sure I know Shauna so well. I bet you she's writing these down. I know her. She's a great note taker, by the way, everybody. Just love her. Gary said this should be in a book. I know, right, Gary? I think I feel that that's something that I want to do. I think I'm ready for my second book. I actually wrote to Patrick, which helped me publish my first book. And I said, hey, did you get my text? I'm ready to write my second book. So I should be getting together with him soon, but I'll definitely want to do a whole chapter on this, Gary. Thank you, on these steps, because I feel that they're very practical and very easy to understand. And I feel like all of them, when I read them, I was like, wow, this is just me it's my relationship with me, with myself. That's what the commonality they had. And Dina says, just had an oh wow moment. That brings me joy. Thank you, Dina. That's what we want, is to just have this like a light bulb in our mind, like, wow, okay. And my goal here is to give massive value, but for you all to come out here and not just keep it in this class. Like, this is not just a class. This is more than a class. It's a way that you can come into your life and be different within your relationships. That's what the purpose of this class is. It's not just this class. It's let's do the work. All right, let's do the work. All right. Step 5. Shared purpose and spiritual growth. The holy relationship flourishes when both individuals share a common purpose, a commitment to spiritual growth and awakening. By aligning our intentions and goals, we support each other's journeys and facilitate transformation. Together, we explore the depths of our being, transcending the ego's limitations and embracing the infinite possibilities of love. So, for me, when it comes to this, I also was speaking to ourselves, like to the shared purpose and spiritual growth. I feel that to begin to have this spiritual growth and to read the Course in Miracles and to do anything that we feel is aligned to hiring our true nature really helps with the holy relationship, because the holy relationship just brings you back to true perception. And the way that you come back to true perception is with awakening who you are in truth, which spirituality helps you with. So what that looks like is really taking the time to meditate, taking the time to pray, taking the time. And we do this a lot with the Course in Miracles coaching group. It's like, really, that's why we have the theme of the month, right? It's like to really dive into these teachings and give them time, right? It could be this class once a month. It could be you're doing the 9-week program. It could be you're reading Live Your Happy. It could be you're listening to the Course in Miracles, or listening to other things that inspire you, podcasts and YouTubes. It's like There's so much the Course in Miracles calls magic, right? There's so many tools in this world, so much visual things that you can